Hello, beautiful people. Nicky and Ness here
And
today to share with you part two of what is really important to include in your business strategy, in your business plan. Last week, we talked about the importance of getting really clear on what your vision is for both business and personal. So if you're not clear on that, or if you haven't listened to that video, jump onto our page and make sure that you check that out. But today we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to talk about knowing your numbers. Knowing your numbers is super important, but it's also an area that a lot of business owners shy away from. Would you agree, Ness?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's that whole, sometimes we want to bury our heads in the sand because it feels way too overwhelming to get into the numbers side of things if it's not your natural style.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings up a really good point around, on the flip side, some people might be so across their numbers or too detailed around their numbers that they end up getting stuck in procrastination. So you'll probably resonate to one or two, or there is a bit of a spectrum of where you might sit when it comes to knowing your numbers. But the thing is that if you don't have clear targets, and we'll talk about what I mean by targets in a moment, if you don't have clear numbers that you're measuring and tracking and going for in your business, then you don't actually know what success looks like. You don't know how you're tracking. You don't know if you can hire that new staff member or outsource some of the work. I mean, are you even paying yourself? How do you know that you can afford to pay yourself comfortably and easily? So,
I think I'm going to cut you off there, Nikki, but also it's the feast or famine. It's like, wow, I've got all this money in my bank account. Yay. And yeah, I'll pay $3,000 for that course, or I'll join this particular program. And then a month later, you're scrambling for funds to cover, your annual subscription to Zoom or something. So
yeah, so true.
Another consequence of not knowing your numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially we end up going blindly in our business. We don't really understand what is the recipe for success or what's happening in those down times, in the famine times. I was having a conversation on socials actually today with someone talking about that feast and famine in sales is always going to happen. The revenue, so there's things that we can do to minimize that and bring consistency, but it's still always going to be in place somehow. So if we don't have the right systems in place, we can't create what we like to call replicable results. And successful businesses are built on replicable results. That just means understanding what the formula is to succeed, so that you don't have to worry. You know that it will always turn around. It will always come back. The tides will turn. So formula for success, that's I think one of my new favorite terms, Ness. What do you think of that? What do you think is...
I love it. And I know that one size does not fit all when it comes to formulas, when it comes to money, when it comes to business. And I'm going to preempt that your formula for success is going to be a little bit different for different people.
Yes, it's so true. And that's what we talk about a lot with our clients and our community, is that it's about designing or deciding what business growth, what ideal business looks like for you. This business by design is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, and we are on board for it. What that means is designing, well, what does that actually look like for you? Not the expectation of growth and not expectations from others. So what is your formula of success? There are a couple of numbers that you really want to have within that, which is what we're going to give you 3 numbers that you at a minimum want to be focusing on when you have a look at the numbers in your business. And there's also an opportunity to go deeper with us around this as well, or with us or on your own, but make sure you're looking at what that formula for success is. And a part of that is knowing your numbers. So Ness, what are a couple of the numbers that business owners should absolutely, I said the word should, would benefit from massively to have in their business?
The very first one is we've got to know the end goal. We've got to actually realize what is the figure that we want to be bringing into our business this year. So what's our target, our overall target? And this ties in with what we talked about last week when it was around vision and what that means to us. So our targets for our business really ideally help us live that vision and the lifestyle that we want to live. Yeah. So for me, that's number one. So what's your one, Nikki?
Yeah. So I think it's really great and important, of course, to have a revenue target, which is otherwise known as a sales target. So what's the number we need to bring in? In conjunction with that, the profit percent target is something that we like to talk about with clients, because you can have the best numbers in the world. You could bring in $1 million, but if your profit is 0 or minus, you're actually you got some work to do around that. So if you can get clear on what profit percent you're driving and going for alongside your revenue target, that's going to be excellent. Ness, what do you think is important to consider when you're actually setting at just very high level? What would be one thing that you'd need to consider when you're setting what that revenue target is and the profit percent?
Look, I think within that, you need to be clearly wanting to draw a wage from your business. So it's not just about, often what we do is we say, what are our expenses? And we start there. And then we go, okay, well, how much do I have to earn in order to be able to cover my expenses? And then maybe make a little bit of a profit out of that. But we like to sort of flip it on its head a bit and say, well, what is our financial goal for the year? And then, what's a profit margin, so that then we can work out how much do we want to sell in order to be able to cover everything and pay ourselves a healthy wage that we are worth and we would get if we were employed by somebody else. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, you're so right, because how often it makes sense. Sit down, look at your expenses, look how much I need to cover that, look so that there's a bit of profit. It actually still amazes me, and it's okay if this is you, how many women in business in particular don't put their income, their desired income amount into that, or they have an idea, but they put it to the side. They'll go, we'll get to that. I'll get this first and then we'll get to that. So what we want to encourage you to do is bring that number in as the number one expense or investment, but expense of your business, alongside the other things. Because if you prioritize that first, and if your numbers are falling short, there might actually be other areas in the business that you can get a little bit more cost effective around. But it can be very easy to go, oh, no, I won't pay myself, or I won't pay myself the full amount or properly this month or this year. So really start prioritizing that. And you'll find with your targets, you want them to be a stretch, but reasonable and realistic, but you might be more motivated to hit those targets because your massage, your lifestyle is what it's going to be feeding, all the things that you love to do.
So I've got a question.
Yes.
Or did you want to jump in? Because I've got a question.
No, you ask away.
So tell our beautiful people in our community, once we know our target numbers, so say we're going to dream big and we're going to hit a target that's a little bit of a moment for us, how do we then go about getting sales to match that figure? So we don't get stuck in that scarcity mindset of the money's not there and all the expenses.
Yeah.
So what would your response be to that?
Yeah, I love that. Such a great question, because it's setting the target is only one piece, and then we have to move to how will we actually achieve it. So just in the same way that you're putting thought into what are the revenue targets, what's the profit percent, my income, you then want to do a little bit of planning to go, okay, let me break this down. So what does that mean in terms of monthly or quarterly revenue amounts? And depending on your business, and depending on your client lead time. So if you've got long conversion times, you might set quarterly targets or break it down to quarterly as opposed to monthly. So really think about your particular business. And then to just simplify it, answer these questions. How much of what? To who do I need to sell? So to who is getting you to think about who's my ideal client and how much of what, how many of what service. So you're breaking it back. You're going, okay, I've got to get clear on my ideal client. What is the service I'm providing to them? And what's the price that I am charging to those clients? And how many would I need to sell? Or how many clients would I need to onboard? What that allows you to do is go, whoa, okay, actually, I need to get 100 clients to hit that target. Is the target reasonable? Have I underpriced? Am I undercharging? Which is going to put it out there most likely for a lot of people. So it allows you to really look at realistically what needs to happen for me to achieve that target. And then you can take a step back and go, right, what leads are coming in? So once you're clear of how many or how much, depending product or service, of what services or products you're selling to who, you can then go, right, what's my lead gen approach? So
Lovely.
there's so much gold in this. I hope that you're taking notes, and that can be as simple as the starting point, and really as it needs to be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Ness, yeah, I've got a question for you, because you're very, very good at working with your clients and for your own businesses in the past. And you've helped me in my businesses around, once we have these numbers in place, because it is the external and internal numbers that we're managing and tracking, what do you think is the most effective or best way you've seen for people to actually track their numbers, keep on top of them? Because you can set a target and then never look at it again, which is also not very helpful.
And you know, something that I do come across with the women that I work with and that I speak to is that depending on where you're at, we talked about that natural tendency to either be a numbers person or not. And so when it feels hard and complicated, like there'll be people going, as soon as they heard you break that down.
Yeah.
What I really want you to be thinking about is this isn't about you going off and doing an accounting degree and figuring out, you know, how do I work all this out? There are people out there that can help you. There are people out there who do these kinds of things for a living. There's software available. There's spreadsheets available. There's templates. There's so much out there that are available to you if you tell yourself the story that you're not good with money. Because the reality is you don't have to be in the doing part, you know, taking photos of your receipts and putting them in a shoebox or whatever it is. But what you do as a business owner really want to be aware of is how are you tracking and what's going on in your business. You need to have that forecast, because then it's time to be able to realize, how does this match in with my sales strategy? You know, when do I need to turn the tap on and when do I need to slow that down? So I really think it's about making sure you are tracking, making sure you have a system or a process in place, be it cloud-based software or good old Excel spreadsheets, but you really want it to match the growth that you want to have in your business. So if you want to turn over $250,000, Excel spreadsheets aren't going to be the thing that's going to help you get there effectively. So it's really finding that match for where it is you want to be in your business. And then there's so many resources that are available to you that mean you don't have to sit in overwhelm, because often when we're in overwhelm about numbers, we bury our heads and we just go, oh, everything's going okay.
Yeah, avoidance. I've been there. Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think you know, whether it's around managing money or around sales, which are two key areas that have a lot of avoidance. You know, it depends on where you sit. So there's a question around that, because there are so many tools out there. There are so many resources, and I know it can be hard to know who to trust or what to use. What's kind of your tip on how to find the best fit for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And look, my response is you've got to start internally. So if we're telling ourselves a story that I can't trust anyone, that money's private, that we can't share those kinds of things, what happens, especially I live in a small town, and I've heard numerous times people going, well, I don't know, I don't really want to use an accountant in town because I'll know all my business. And it's really interesting because they're professionals, as we all are. And I would really start with unpacking some of these mindset beliefs that we have, that money's hard, that I'm not good at doing spreadsheets, that, you know, like all the stories that we're telling ourselves are going to influence whether we take action or whether we don't take action.
Yeah.
And that's the starting point, because the reality is we can find these resources. There's hundreds of them out there, and we can hone in and get recommendations from people we trust and all that kind of stuff. But if we have a block in our mindset that says money's private, people can't be trusted, I can't share my information, I don't even want to talk about money, that's what we've got to unpack first.
Yeah. And I would add to that, I guess it's similar from a sales point of view around, I'm not a salesperson. I don't like sales targets. I really want to highlight to everybody that's watching and listening to this, all of these types of numbers we're talking about, it's not about putting pressure on you to achieve these results. It's more around being smart in your business. So if anything that we've talked about today has triggered any feelings or brought up any emotions of, oh, that's too hard, oh my gosh, you're speaking another language, what is this? Then that's feedback to you that ding, 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 this is an area of your business to look at. And, Ness and I, we can do it, you can do it. It's absolutely achievable. So really think about what numbers are you tracking in your business to bring in revenue, to look at profit, and to pay yourself. And ultimately, that's what we're talking about here. They're the three key metrics or three numbers for you to start measuring if you're not doing that consistently already. Ness and I are also here to help. Ness, is there anything else that you would add?
I think you've covered it all, other than there is help available. So if you're wanting to be able to get some more support in this area, we have our mastermind group. We have a strategy day coming up on the 8th of February, and we are there to support you through all of this. So we'll be going deep into how to get those figures, and then how to look at the mindset that's going to hold you back from achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
So we would love it if you needed some extra support, that you reach out to us and we can see if you're a really good fit for it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's about systems as well as, and skill as well as the mindset. Plus having some fun along the way. This stuff doesn't have to be boring or unsexy. Let's, rebrand it. I've often said throughout my career, it's about learning to love KPIs. Ooh, and I'm just going to leave that one there for people to marinate. Imagine if you loved your KPIs. So we do have a strategy day coming up, as Ness said, on the 8th of February. If you're at all curious to see if it could be a good fit for you, please reach out to us. And also we have a mini workshop coming up next week where we touch on these things a little bit higher level, but definitely get you started. And that's the mini workshop next Tuesday. It's an hour. Get your 66-month business plan done and dusted in 60 minutes. Yeah. Look forward to connecting with you soon.
See you later.